Hi, this is Felipe Osorio, and welcome to Second Earth Alternative. Holy crap, did you see the last episode of Game of Thrones? Yeah, it was like that. If you've never seen Game of Thrones, well, it's a little bit like Harry Potter on steroids in a parallel fantasy timeline where dragons, sorceries, and zombies collide together in extravaganza of human depravity. If you're not beheading somebody, chopping off their dick, or sadistically casting some weird voodoo spell, you're likely having sex with them, even if it is your own family. And if you're one of the few good ethical characters that exists, chances are you're probably a bastard, a dwarf, or a cripple. And I mean that literally, not figuratively. Okay, just a spoiler alert. If you have not seen the new episode of Game of Thrones, do realize that there are going to be some spoilers in this episode. So what exactly happened in Game of Thrones that has me standing here talking to an audience that's more concerned about little green men, not little great men?
I demand a trial by combat.
Well, for the first time in 7 seasons, there was a possible reference to alien intervention in the show Game of Thrones. In the latest episode called The Spoils of War, one of the main characters, Jon Snow, well, he discovers a cave with mythical paintings. Jon Snow goes on to say that the paintings were created by the children of the Forrest. Now, if you have yet to see them, these creatures, what they call the children of the Forrest, well, they look like a cross of the Greek Titan god Medusa and Miley Cyrus. Here, take a look. According to Game of Thrones.wikia, the Children of the Forest are a mysterious non-human race that were reportedly the original inhabitants of the continent of Westeros 12,000 years ago before the present timeline. Most characters believe that they are simply the stuff of myth and were last reportedly seen during the migration of men into Westeros 6,000 years ago. Descriptively, it states that they also have disproportionately large expressive eyes like human babies, which are set wider in their face than would be normal for a human child of the same height. Now, sounds familiar, right? Remember how the original Roswell aliens were described to be childlike creatures with large wide-set eyes? What's more, the timeline of when these children of the forest first came in contact and were later seen by men is actually very similar to our own history when the last great civilizations emerged. Two major civilizations I personally suspect may have had alien intervention because of what is described in the legends are the Sumerians and the people of Göbekli Tepe, which similarly happened 6,000 years ago and 12,000 years ago respectively. The Children of the Forest apparently created the White Walkers, this weird satanic-like zombie culture that looks not too different from Arnold Schwarzenegger in Batman. The White Walkers were created to keep humanity in check. Now, according to ancient mythologies, the ancient gods were said to have created mankind itself. So, whatever the Children of the Forest is in Game of Thrones, it has the powers of creation just as the ancient gods on Earth were said to have had when they created humanity. And I'm talking about the ancient astronauts. But what I found most fascinating about this Game of Thrones scene is actually the wall paintings that Jon Snow discovers. Okay, don't get mad at me, HBO. I'm just trying to do an original content report on your show, and I'm hoping this is fair use. But either way, let's roll the tape. What I couldn't understand is if the children of the forest were said to be childlike, why were they depicted in this astronaut suit type way? Perhaps because Game of Thrones is supposed to be a fantasy mirror world to our own world, taking place in some second Earth, yes, pun was intended, medieval parallel timeline. But in this world, this Earth, we do have ancient paintings depicting entities in astronaut suits. So while the children of men may look one way, the producers and the writers of Game of Thrones, well, when showing them in the paintings, they decided to depict something that's very close to our own ancient history. So, is Game of Thrones cleverly telling us that aliens exist? Let's let the producers and the writer tell you himself. Here.
The idea that this is like one of those French caves where prehistoric man lived and painted on the walls, except in our case it wasn't prehistoric men but children of the forest. It's supposed to be something that's very evocative of the thousands of years that have passed since these caves were first explored and the paintings were first made, and also obviously something that's quite relevant to the current storyline because it's about how these two disparate peoples united to fight the common enemy. There are a number of symbols on the walls. Some of them are supposed to remind us of patterns we've seen before, going back to the very first geometric pattern on the show, which was the weird array of body parts that the White Walkers made. One of the things we learned from these cave paintings is that the White Walkers didn't come up with those images. They derived them from their creators, the Children of the Forest. These are patterns that have mystical significance for the Children of the Forest. We're not sure exactly what they signify, but spiral patterns are important in a lot of different cultures in our world, and it makes sense that they would be in this world as well.
The enemy is real. It's always been real.
So there it is. Aliens in a medieval fantasy world in crop circles made out of corpses. Maybe the cattle mutilation aliens can take a note of how Game of Thrones does it. Actually, no, maybe not. I prefer the crop method better. So I have been a little bit slow to put out episodes, but I'm going to actually change that very soon. So please tune back in. I'm going to have a new episode regarding a possible UFO that was captured with our own camera. Thanks for watching. This is Felipe Osario, signing out.